Ulyankulu is a rural refugee settlement in central Tanzania. More than 57,000 people live and till the soil in this 1,000 square kilometer zone, which only a few years ago was trackless bush. Ulyankulu is a human settlement created out of necessity with help from the international community through the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees and the Lutheran World Federation, which operates the Tanganyika Christian Refugee Service. UNHCR is concerned with helping governments to find human and workable solutions to refugee problems. Ulyankulu is typical of one such solution. LWF shares these concerns by acting as the operational partner in this project. Tens of thousands of people, because of events over which no outsider has control, flee their homeland and seek asylum in a neighboring country. Beyond the immediate need to provide them with shelter, food, clothing, which can only be a palliative, a more permanent solution must be found that is compatible both with traditions of hospitality and good neighborliness. And it must be found fast, so that the refugees can as soon as possible start fending for themselves and leading a normal life, preferably not in the immediate vicinity of the frontier they have crossed. Fortunately, in this part of Africa, land is plentiful, and as the refugees are mainly farmers, the obvious thing to do is to settle them on the land. There they can grow their own food, in short, ensure their own survival. Survival alone is not enough, however. Refugees, as much as any other people, are entitled to a certain quality of life, implying decisions, choices, even at the risk, because of urgency, that some mistakes may be made. Schools, health and social services, community facilities, communications, all those things which mark the difference between a living community and a stagnant camp must be planned. The first decision, that of the choice of a site, is taken in close consultation between the government, UNHCR and LWF. At Ulyankulu, a large area of land was available. It's some 400 kilometers inland from the Kigoma area where the refugees originally arrived, and 75 kilometers from the nearest town, Tabora. A survey by specialists from different UN agencies showed that food and cash crops could be grown there. Availability of an adequate water supply was a vital necessity. A basic layout was drawn up, taking into account logical locations of community services in relation to the number of inhabitants. This grid of main roads and feeder roads, the skeleton, nervous and circulatory system of the settlement, will permit an equitable distribution of plots of land, 8.5 acres per family. This is considered a minimum on which a family can live and grow their own garden produce. Newcomers are registered upon their arrival at the settlement. The family plot system is explained to them, and they are told that although the goal is that they should be self-reliant and support themselves soon without outside help, in the meantime, they'll receive regular rations supplied by the World Food Programme. Blankets, clothes, a first food ration, buckets for carrying water, some soap are issued. The new arrivals are immediately taken to the plots that have been designated for them. From here on, with the knowledge that help will be available if they need it, they're on their own. With 3 simple tools, the panga or machete, djembes, hoes, shokas, axes, they'll be able to carve a homestead out of the bush.
Napita pande huu. Ndagiwa minani. Aha, njoo hapa. Bwana, sio nani? Kijiji chako ni hiki, au ni hiki hapa? Alama yako hapa, huu mti na huu. Unaona bwana? Unafika naenda mpaka kuna alama tena hapo mbele. Kwa vile weka alama hapa. Alafu namaanisha aha. Hai. Bado tunaendelea mbele. Tugende. Sasa mawe sigara hanyene mawe. Abandi tujao.
Shelter is a first necessity. Tents or some form of prefabricated dwelling could have been provided, but this would only be contributing to that helpless feeling so common to refugees, and a temporary shelter is quickly erected. The homes are constructed entirely from simple building materials near at hand in the bush that has to be cleared anyway for construction of more permanent dwellings. No set model is imposed. Here, unlike the planning of the overall settlement infrastructure, decisions are left up to the individual, who is encouraged from the outset to use initiative and imagination. The system at Ulyankulu embodies more than 10 years of experience with numerous refugee settlements in Tanzania. This layout of roads in a grid pattern and these kinds of dwellings have been used with success in other, smaller settlements. Ulyankulu has not been developed in isolation, but from its conception to its realization, it has been consciously integrated into the regional plan for this area of the country. The refugees have had to make many adjustments. A major one has been adapting from the environment of mountain rainforest, where they came from, to here in a terrain of flat woodlands. Each house usually has 3 rooms. An outhouse, sometimes the original temporary shelter, can be used as a sleeping place for the children or storage for tools, seeds and the like. The kitchen is outdoors. A veranda and a wall decoration. These are touches that show that a house has become a home. The sowing of the first seeds in a newly cleared plot is a gesture of self-confidence. In the home gardens, the new settlers are growing cassava, sweet potatoes and maize from seeds or seedlings issued to them. In an effort to diversify the crops, the settlement management has started a nursery farm. Here, the settlers can obtain seedlings and young trees for their gardens. Cashew nuts, lemons, papayas and bananas will add variety to their diets. After a 6-month growing season, the new settlers will be eating at least some of their own produce, permitting a gradual phasing out of the World Food Programme rations of maize, oil and beans, which have been their main diet. But if individual self-sufficiency is one goal, another is a sense of community spirit and cooperative effort. The tomatoes ripening on the vines of the women's communal garden are one example of the type of community self-help project that is being encouraged by the authorities. Such projects are discussed in meetings between elected leaders of the settlers from hamlet and village levels and community development workers. This type of discussion has led to the creation of a multi-purpose cooperative society run by the settlers. The cooperative, which has 2 tractors, is introducing mechanized farming of rice and cash crops such as tobacco. services such as milling maize, shoemaking, blacksmithing, carpentry, repairing bicycles or tailoring, a butcher's shop, a restaurant and various shops have also been started by the cooperative. Through such initiatives, the settlers are being introduced to concepts which are in line with government policies for rural development and food production in a region where increased productivity is a vital need. And at the same time, they're developing the feeling of belonging to a community which they themselves can soon run without outside help. So as to even further diversify food production, a livestock farm has been started with a community beef herd. The cattle are dipped for ticks. Structures like this pigsty are also built exclusively from local materials which ensure that they can be easily multiplied. A breeding program aims at providing individual settlers with cattle, pigs and chickens. The settlement has 100 kilometers of main roads and 400 kilometers of feeder roads which lead off the main roads at 1 kilometer intervals. Self-help projects include road building and maintenance. The refugees took an active part in building a bridge over the Igombe River between older and newer parts of the settlement zone. Before, during the rainy season, the latter could only be reached by boat. The settlers have also erected a variety of buildings for community services and are working on a water catchment dam and network of irrigation canals. All these self-help projects can be undertaken whenever settlers have free time from working on their own homesteads. Brickmaking on the settlement provides three major advantages. Local material is used, the process is labor-intensive, and the product is inexpensive. The need for health care, on the other hand, was immediate, and a health center and 4 dispensaries located at strategic points in the settlement have been built and staffed by the authorities to the same standards as in the rest of the area. They cater to an average of 25,000 patients a month. More difficult cases are evacuated to the government hospital 75 kilometers away. Here again, however, the concept of self-reliance is stressed in health education sessions. One of the important points made in these sessions is the care that should be taken with drinking water, which is still often drawn direct from the river pools and should be boiled. Although the settlers have been encouraged to dig wells, water is at a premium, especially in the dry season. Much effort has been devoted to assisting the refugees to become materially self-sufficient, attention has also been given to education. Temporary schools built by the settlers and using refugee teachers are gradually being replaced by permanent structures in the framework of the government's efforts to provide primary education to all the country's school-aged children. There are 11 primary schools with a total of 2,300 pupils. These are permanent structures built to government standards for public buildings. The school, and this is also true of the health services, are also open to the local non-refugee population.
Inatakiwa tuanze kwanza kusoma kimya, baadaye tutajibu maswali.
Adult literacy classes aim not only at teaching people to read and write, they have a practical content, new farming methods or nutrition.
Chakula. Chakula. Je, unapika uji kila siku? Je, unapika uji kila siku? Mama anapika uji.
Tazama mwenyewe uone machafuko yanaonyesha maoni ya mwisho. Umerakimu ndo kitambo si mbali sana, dunia hii karibu itawaka moto.
A sense of self-sufficiency is also seen in the way people have built churches. Attendance at services is another aspect of the development of a whole community at Ulyankulu.
Jiulize kabura ya Bwana, ujihakikishe kama wewe Bwana unachotenda na imani yako angalia sana. Jiulize kabura ya Bwana, ujihakikishe.
Twice a week on Wednesdays and Saturdays, thousands of settlers head for Ulyankulu's big, colorful market center run under the aegis of the Cooperative Society. Here, not only can they barter foodstuffs they've produced for other things they need, they can also purchase some of the consumer goods which make life more pleasant, including gay yard goods for Sunday best clothes. Previously, for 4 months of the year, Ulyankulu was cut off from the outside world. Today, a bus service of 5 buses a day runs between the settlement and Tabora, the district headquarters. These few glimpses of life at Ulyankulu don't, of course, give a complete picture of all that has gone into creating this settlement and others like it. When this film was made, 3 years had passed since the first settlers arrived. An estimated 2 more years would be needed before the settlement could be considered fully self-sufficient. In addition to the refugees themselves, there's a staff including Tanzanian government community development, agricultural, health and education workers. More than 200 LWF extension workers are ready to be integrated into government service as qualified experts when the project is phased out. Their efforts are bearing fruit, but in what has often been a race against time, things were done that might have been done differently given other circumstances. Human settlements, whether they be big cities or little villages, tend to develop each in their own way with time. Ulyankulu has been a deliberate, voluntary process. Only time and history can confirm or invalidate the soundness of an enterprise started from scratch, a human settlement.